Thanks, Zoe. The big news everyone's been talking about this month is the opening of the city's very first microbrewery and tap room right in downtown Marlborough. As you can probably see, I'm standing right inside Walden Woods Brewing, where the owners are putting the finishing touches ahead of the brewery's opening sometime in the next few weeks. And in a moment, I will be speaking to one of the owners to get a better idea of what people can expect once the brewery opens. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about some of the other major stories that have been making headlines in the city this month. To talk more about that, I'm joined by Marlborough Economic Development Corporation's Executive Director, Meredith Harris. Thanks for joining me, Meredith.
Hi, Laura.
All right, so the Marlborough Economic Development Corporation put out its 2017 annual report just last month, and there were a lot of good news that came out of that report, specifically talking about Marlborough's economy and how it's been doing really well by all indications. Can you tell me a little bit more about that report, what the key findings were, what your takeaway was from that?
Absolutely. We love the annual report time each year. It's kind of a way for us to take a look back at the year and see of all the wonderful things that were going on. And, 2017, was a wonderful year. A lot of success stories in Marlborough. For one, the Apex Center, is now open here in Marlborough, bringing 1,600 jobs and, taking 500,000 square feet of new space, building new space here in Marlborough and providing new jobs for people. But in addition to that, we also had over 40 companies that had moved or expanded here in the city, filling over 300,000 square feet of space and adding about 450 new jobs into the city.
Wow, those are good numbers. Now, looking ahead, though, your organization is hoping to focus on downtown revitalization. And I know this has already been going on for a couple of years now, since the downtown was rezoned in 2014 at the end of the year there. What is going to be new and different this year in 2018?
So I think the time is right. For downtown, we keep saying we're on the brink of a revitalization, but I really do believe that we are. We're standing here in Walden Woods Brewing, which is going to be the first brew pub to open. We have another brew pub that's going to be opening. It's called Lost Shoe, which is down in the old Speakers nightclub, and a couple of new restaurants that have opened recently. Terrific is one on Main Street. We also had O'Hearn's Tavern that opened up. These things that are happening are just going to continue to spur more development downtown, and we have a couple of different people that are interested in some development projects, some mixed use, and we're really hoping that those projects are going to come to fruition.
Well, all right, well, that sounds great. Now, one of the things that's actually been driving all this revitalization in the downtown area is the MEDC's Economic Development Toolbox. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that actually is and how it's making all these changes in the downtown area?
Absolutely. So the Toolbox we launched in 2015. At the beginning, it was a little hard. We were trying to get out there in a way for us to really help small business owners either start or expand their business here in the city. And Walden Woods is actually one of our recipients, as well as Lost Shoe, and O'Hearn's Tavern as well. So, it's a good way for some of these companies to come in, and whether it's gap financing that they need or some rental assistance or storefront beautification, things of that nature, they're able to help with access to financing through the Toolbox.
Now, as you mentioned, Walden Woods is one of the recipients, in fact, the first recipient of the amenities funding program. And we are joined now by Alida Orzechowski, who is one of the owners at Walden Woods. Thank you so much for having us in your place, Alida.
Thanks, Laura.
All right, so can you tell me the story of Walden Woods? How did it come about, and how did it end up on Main Street in Marlborough?
Well, we didn't start out to come here originally. We had thought about being closer to Concord, Mass, being called Walden Woods, obviously. And there's an interesting thing about a lot of the bylaws of the towns, even though it used to be illegal to not have a brewery in a town in Massachusetts.
Those were good times.
Exactly. We need to go back to that. During the Puritan times, now there's all these hoops you have to jump through, and there's all these crazy laws. So we were looking around for almost a year, really just banging our heads against the wall, looking for the correct space to be and open up our brewery. And then we heard about Marlborough actually actively seeking what we were trying to do. So we got to come in, and we met in the first meeting. We met with Mary, and we thought this is absolutely the place for us. So they removed a lot of roadblocks, made it much easier.
Great. And so you've been working on this space for quite a while now. Can you tell me a little bit more about the space itself, and what can people expect once you open your doors?
Sure. We really hope to open a community space. Obviously, we want to have a correct space to brew in and to be able to serve our beer, but the biggest is how you feel when you're here. We really want to make it an educational opportunity as well, to learn about the brewing process and the history of beer, and a little bit about Henry David Thoreau himself. But we want people to come in and feel very comfortable, and really kind of learn about their neighbors and the community and sit and have a quiet place to talk and drink a good beer.
Speaking of good beer, can you tell us a little bit more about what your beer is going to be like? How many beers will you be serving? What kinds? What is your brewing process? I'm sure all the beer nuts out there want to know.
We hope to open with about 6 beers on tap, eventually going up to about 12 to 14 on rotation. We'll really run the spectrum of beers, everything from something nice and light and summery all the way up to dark porters and to stouts we were talking about, definitely New England IPAs. So we want to be able to have something for everybody who comes into the tap room.
What makes your beers unique?
As far as the beer itself, one of the things we really want to show is how beer has evolved over the years. There is a long history between humanity and fermentation, and we think it's going to be really interesting to show people what English bitters tasted like 300 years ago as opposed to our New England IPA that everybody is crazy about. So we were thinking about doing an evolutionary flight as well, so you can kind of taste how the beer has evolved during that time.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Now, the big question, when do you expect to open?
My favorite question. Yes, I'd laugh about this. There's the easy answer and a difficult answer. And the easy answer is we will open as soon as the beer is ready. And the difficult one is, when is the beer ready? And it's up to the beer. But we're hoping in the next few weeks.
Oh, well, we certainly look forward to that. Thank you so much again for having us in your space and for talking to us and giving us a bit more of an insight into what's to come. Mary, to talk to you and come back to what you just said earlier, there's another brew pub that's coming to downtown that also benefited from the amenities funding program. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so Lost Shoe is also coming in. Like I said, they're going to the old Speakers nightclub space, but a little different of a concept. So it's a husband and a wife, and she really loves coffee and he really loves beer. So they're doing both concepts. They're going to be brewing and roasting their own coffee during the morning hours and then switching over to beer in the afternoon. So a little different of a concept, but certainly it's going to complement Walden Woods, and I think we're going to be seeing people bouncing back and forth between both brew pubs.
Well, so another thing to look forward to in the downtown area. Now, before I let you go, I do want to talk to you about the Amazon bid that Marlborough and surrounding communities put together recently when Amazon was looking for bids. Did Marlborough make it?
So we didn't make the top 20 list, but I do have to say that's not a bad thing. You know, we set out to accomplish exactly what we accomplished, which was to get some great press, not only for Marlborough, but the surrounding region, and also work together with the surrounding communities to put together a really great proposal that we can now use for future companies that are looking to come in. And with that being said, Boston did make the short list. So if they are looking for any type of spin-off satellite offices, you know, down the road, 5 years down the road, or even 1 or 2 years down the road, they have our information and they know where to find us.
And they did send you a note.
They sent me a personal email, which was really great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Meredith. Appreciate it. That's Meredith Harris from the Marlborough Economic Development Corporation joining us as always. And if you would like to find more about what the MEDC does, any of its programs, or keep up to date on the news in Marlborough, you can always go to their website, marlboroughdc.com. And of course, follow them on their social media, Marlborough EDC. That's all for me from now. And back to you, Zoe.